Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 23-24 Canucks season. We are looking forward to this. It really starts with free agency, but it revved up last week in Penticton, where we had our rookies there. We were very pleased with their performance. The team played well, but it wasn't just about the team playing well. You could see that some of these younger guys worked hard this summer, and their development was very good, and certainly some of them should take a big step this year. So we're very pleased with that, and also that team did well, and some of our other prospects like Lakamaki and Pettersson, Seeloff, you know, they weren't even there to join that team, and the team looked pretty good. So anyways, we're looking forward to the season. Tomorrow we start on the ice. It certainly appears that our guys worked very hard this summer. I saw them at the golf tournament the other day. Everybody's talking about it, and certainly a number of players have put themselves in position to have good camps and fight for jobs. So I'm not going to take too much of the time. I know you have questions. There's three of us up here. But anyways, welcome to the start of this season.
We'll go first for Jim. Just your thoughts on the offseason in terms of the acquisitions your organization made, the moves, and how you've prepared yourself heading into this season with some of the additions you've made, in particular to the NHL roster.
Well, as everybody knows, we had a number of shortcomings last year, and we feel that we've improved some of the areas. We'll see how much we've improved them, but penalty killing was a sore spot. We brought guys in that have had success killing penalties over their career, and we hope that they can come in and help us in that area. We changed our defense, and the defense will be harder to play against. It'll be a little bit different. We obviously brought in one or two older guys on defense, which buys a little bit of time for some of the prospects we have coming. We feel pretty good about some of our defensemen that are coming, but we don't want to hurry their development, so that gives them a little bit longer to develop. But overall, we've put ourselves in a stronger position, which isn't that hard to do. We're coming off an off year, so we still have work to do. We're not sitting here saying we're where we need to be. We still have work to do. But based on what we had to deal with, we're still working through the cap. I think we've almost got it unraveled. We're probably a contract or two away from getting to where we want to be, and then we can really move forward the way we want to.
And Rick, Jim talked about how it looks like some of your players have had very strong summers, have come to camp ready to go, and you talked a lot last year about the importance of the summer for a lot of your players. Do you get that sense as well? I guess you're going to find out at training camp here in the next couple of days, but is that what it looks like to you too as well?
Yeah, we'll find out, but the camaraderie of them being together, like Jim said, hanging out with the guys yesterday, how excited they are. The leadership group is really, I think, has really bonded even more, taken a lot of steps. I got to give them credit. It's got nothing to do with me. They're the ones that kind of orchestrated this. But I'm a big camaraderie guy, team type of guy, and I think that's a big step to getting to where we want to go.
Yeah, just want to ask you about, Rick, to you. There is a significant pressure on this team to start well, given what's happened the last 2 years. So how does that affect how you approach training camp and how you approach battles involving younger players, because you might not want to take those chances and know what you've got going into the first part of the season?
Yeah, everybody wants to, make the playoffs. Everybody wants to win the cup over here, but you got to go through the steps to get there. I'm a Staples guy, if you're not back checking and you're not changing hard, and if you're not doing the things that we're asking you to do, it's going to be hard to go there. Yeah, everybody wants this, but there's a lot of work to get there. That's how you deal with pressure. You know, you have to do the little things. You know, we've had numerous talks with players about that. You know, if you're not prepared, pressure hits you. So the start is the big thing around here. And I told the players that don't worry about the start, just worry about first day of camp, and then we'll go from the second day. And I know it's a cliche, but I believe in that. You know, one step at a time, one brick at a time, and then, you know, when you play the right way, you know, us coaches use that all the time, you deal with pressure. So I think that's the way, that's my advice to those guys. Just worry about the first day. Don't worry about the start. You know, the start. You start thinking about the start. We have to have a good start. Then you're going to start squeezing your stick. So that's my job, is to make kind of ease these guys into it, in the sense that just do the right things, we'll be fine.
Hogelander and Podkolzin, two young guys that seem to be at a really important stage of their careers. What do you want to see from both of those guys, and what are the chances that both make this team?
Well, they've already started the right direction, the way they've treated this summer. You know, the way they've trained already. You know, they're looking great already. They got to get an opportunity. You know, I want to get them an opportunity in camp for them even to relax and go out there. But yeah, anytime you can get young guys in your lineup, it really pushes the envelope, and it brings a lot of energy to your team. And all the good teams I've been on, yeah, you have good veteran players, but those younger guys push the pace. And that's what I'm looking for those guys to do, is push that energy, and even in practice every day.
Good morning, Patrick. Ilya Mikheyev, what is his status? Is he going to be ready to hit the ice tomorrow? And is there a plan in place for him as far as preseason and readiness for October 11th?
Yeah, Ilya has done a tremendous job this offseason in his rehab, and very committed. He's going to start skating with the non-contact jersey with the C group, I believe, and then we basically go day by day here. But his work ethic, commitment, and where he is, it would be not far for him to be joining the big team there.
And I haven't seen the official camp roster. Lots of PTOs around the NHL. Are there any at this camp? Why or why not?
Well, not as of now. We talked about a couple of names, but we also feel, as Jim said here, that a lot of young players deserve a chance. The way they performed in Abbotsford last year, last week in Penticton, we're very excited about some of the young guys, and we want to see them in position to succeed here. So that's we got a full roster as of now.
Question for Rick. What's your philosophy for putting lines together at the beginning of training camp? Do you anticipate doing a bit of experimentation, or are you trying to, is the goal to get the lines that you want for opening night?
Yeah, I do sections, 3-4 days, see how it goes. Scotty Bowman was a big pair guy. I like putting pairs together, and you can put people with them. We'll see how that shakes out. Like I said, and there's some competition, right? So, it could be day to day as early as now. You try somebody different. Maybe there's 3 guys that you like what they're doing, you keep them. So to me, it's a fluid thing. There's nothing set in stone right now, and that's what training camp's for. You want to give everybody the opportunity too, but you also want to get your main guys ready too. So it's you got to kind of find that sweet spot.
And question for Jim. Do you have a status update on all the construction at Rogers Arena, and perhaps the search for a practice facility?
They're working to get things done at Rogers. I believe they'll have it done for us for the start of the season. There's a few moving parts with the practice rink. It's a priority for ownership, They talk to me about it. Not every day, but fairly regular basis, that it's very important. And as everybody knows that lived here a lot longer than me, there's not a lot of land around, and it certainly doesn't come free. So we're going to have to get creative, and that's what we're trying to do. And my hope is that the practice rink can be in place for the start of the next off season.
Patrick, this is your second full season. You obviously came in last year with big hopes, big ambitions. You guys didn't make the playoffs. That, of course, comes on the heel of sort of 7-8 years of a lot of hope and a lot of ambition and not making the playoffs. From your perspective, why is this season going to be different?
Well, again, I think the big part here is that we're aligned as an organization from the top to the bottom, speaking the same language, the coaching staff in Vancouver and Abbotsford having the same message, the same system, the same practice habits. We're more in line. The internal competition have increased since last year. Great finish last year for the younger players, as Rick touched about in Abbotsford, how they competed, how they grow. I think a big part of it is to have that spark, the juice from the young guys. And I saw a big improvement how the older guys bought into when Rick took over the team, understanding how we want to play. There is no guarantee for success, but we're ready for camp here. And same as Rick, I give the leadership group and the team credit for doing what they can to prepare themselves, coming in here early and ready to go here tomorrow.
Rick, last year, Jim, early in the season, expressed a lot of frustration about the team's preparation in a lot of regard. You've talked a lot, obviously, about physical, being ready to play.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, what does preparation mean? Like, what does this team need to start off the season and go through the whole season?
Well, I think it's steps. We all know the compete level's got to get higher. We all know that. And I saw it come, and I give the players credit for that last year. Preparation, obviously, you have 4 months off, so the preparation starts pretty well after the season ends. You do your little vacation, but it starts. I think it's so important to do that, to play the way you want to play. If you want to be a team that's hard to play against, you got to be in shape. But saying that, it's also just habits on and off the ice. We hired a science guy, Alex Shrinker from Pittsburgh, who's a guy that we're familiar with that's going to really help us in that regard of recovery. We travel a lot here. There's going to be some times where parts of the schedule we're going to have to really make sure that we have the guys recover. So that's all part of that preparation. And the one thing is, too, is I know Jim touched on it, like I'm excited, I was up in Penticton and I also was in Abbotsford watching these guys play, and there's some guys, they're pushing for jobs. That's great for the organization. It's going to put some heat on other guys. I think that's what good organizations do, and that's what, we're doing here, is pushing from the bottom up, and that's how you prepare. That's how guys prepare, even harder.
Jim, if memory serves correct, when you were first hired, we talked about the cap back then, and a few minutes ago you mentioned the fact that you're maybe one contract away from being where you'd like to be with the salary cap. Why do you think it's been so difficult to free up cap space, and a lot of times part with draft picks to get rid of salary? And do you have an optimal number where you'd like to have the franchise operating on cap-wise?
Yeah. One point of correction, I said 2 contracts, just for the point of correction. Give me a little leeway there. Sure. The reason it's difficult is there's a flat cap, okay? And we're not the only team dealing with it. And moves that were made prior to us coming here, I don't even disagree with them. People were making moves on teams thinking the cap would keep going up. And if the cap kept going up, we're not sitting having this conversation. And so it's been a flat cap since COVID. That's going to change next year. And also we're going to be at the point where we're out of some contracts that we would prefer not to have. So we'd hope to do it quicker. We hope to do everything quicker. We all want to win immediately. But we've moved as quick as we can. Whatever opportunities are there, we've taken. And we'd like to move quicker, but we haven't.
Come December, it'll be 2 years for you on the job. Are you starting to see light at the end of the tunnel, and where do you think you're at with this organization? Where the organization is at, where you see it going down the highway?
Well, the thing that I can feel comfortable with saying, because it in some ways it's about wins and losses, it's about success at the end of each season, but I like where we're at with our hockey operations group. Patrick touched on it. We have a group that is together now and aligned in a sense of how we want to do things, how we want to play. I feel really good about our development department. I feel really good about our group in Abbotsford. You saw that last year where we had a relatively young American Hockey League team, and they competed hard. They did pretty well for where they were at. And I suspect that Abbotsford should even be better this year, and we're going to do that with a lot of young players. So in order to ultimately get to where you have to get to, you have to develop your own players. You have to draft right. I'm sorry that I did not include Willander when I talked about prospects that weren't there. So I just wanted to say that also. Seems like you're the guy getting all the corrections here. But I like our staff, you know, and like Patrick was saying, Abbotsford is going. They play the same way as the Canucks play, the same system and whatnot. Talk had a coach's seminar in Whistler a few weeks ago, and we've had those in the past in other organizations, and it was really good. You know, it was so good because Jeremy Colton was there. He's part of those talks, and he even has his input on different things that Talk's doing, and back and forth, and so that's my point about how that's aligned and how they work together and have the communication. So guys, when they get called up here, they're not taking 2 or 3 games to figure out how they have to play, because by that time they're not playing and they're back down. So it gives all the players a better chance to be successful.
Patrick, one more. Yesterday you moved on from Tanner Pearson. How much of that was giving him a fresh start, maybe a much-needed fresh start, and also maybe the fact that, as Jim mentioned, there's young guys that maybe could earn a job this year?
Yeah, it definitely was a combination. Want to thank Tanner for his 5 years here, especially going through what he did last year, put his hours in and showing up here in good shape. I couldn't guarantee him ice time and a roster spot, and we felt that this was a hockey deal where we improved our depth in net on the back end, getting established goalie. It's Casey DeSmith. But you're right, the improvement of our younger wingers made us excited, and we felt that this was a move that freed up some cap flexibility as well. So we wish Tanner and his family all the best moving forward.
Rick, oh, sorry, go ahead.
This is for Rick anyway. Rick, we've never seen you run a training camp before. Are you able to give us just an overview of what it's going to look like, what the points of emphasis are, what your fitness testing looks like?
Yeah, you know, people overblow like a hard camp. Like you know, we're not going to do goal line for an hour. Like it's an educational camp. You know, it's systems, it's battle drills. You know, it's off-ice workouts. It's all calculated. You know, I'd be dumb to run the guys through the ground the first 3 days. You know, that's why we brought in Alex, our science person like that. And obviously, you know, like the staff I got here is incredible. It's the best staff I've ever been on, or comparable to Pittsburgh with Mike Sullivan when I was there. Just the hockey mind. So there's a lot of educational stuff. You know, the players want that. They want to know where to go and the situational stuff. And we're going to supply that. And we have a lot of people, not me, to supply them with that information. Saying that, you know, there's going to be battle drills. You know, that's hockey. You know, you're going to have to do that stuff. And we're going to have some, you know, some flow drills also. But it's more of an education. Is it hard? Yeah. I mean, every camp's hard. Adam Foote said the other day, he goes, yeah, every camp I come into is hard. I don't, you know, one way or another, do I dread it or not? He goes, if you're prepared, you don't dread it. So, yeah, we had the skating tests. Guys did the skating tests. We'll go over the results later. And then our VO2 tests, it's today. They did, and there's some of the other tests. So we'll go through that next couple of days. But, yeah, we're just, first day of camp, just excited to see the guys get on the ice. Get the anxiety. I think, you know, some guys get anxiety and squeezing the sticks early. So that's our job as coaches to supply them with, you know, to just go relax and just, you know, one brick at a time type of thing. So that's basically a camp for me.
For Jim, I'm curious to know, over the course of that time, is there anything you've learned about this group or about managing this team in this city since we last heard from you when Tocchet was announced?
Yeah, I try to learn something every day. And yeah, I've learned. I don't think it's different managing this team in this city. You manage a team the way you think you should manage it, whatever comes your way or whatever you generate to make the team better. But I feel very strong about our hockey operations staff and our coaching staffs in both places. And we put ourselves in a stronger position to succeed. Do we have enough players? Did we make enough changes? That's why we play the games. But certainly if we didn't, Patrick's going to be working on it on a regular basis.
Rick, just want to ask you about defensive pairs in your top four. I know there's some thought about whether or not Roenick should play with Hughes or you should split them up, given they both have an ability to kind of control the play when they're on the ice. How do you see that?
Yeah, there's good questions where, who plays with what. We have there's going to be some good competition there, so that's going to push base. I know the big story, who's going to play with Quinn Hughes? It could be a couple of guys, something's not set in stone right now. There's who can play left, it's hard for some guys to play, if you're left, to play right. So, those are the things we have to go through. That's why, you got Sergei and Adam Foote here, who are terrific at that stuff. And also teaching guys to play your offside, how to handle the puck, what to expect in certain situations. So that's going to take some time. So, as of right now, don't read into the pairs we have now. But we'll see how it shakes out. And every coach says the same thing. But yeah, we have some ideas. I'll tell you, it seems like whoever Hughesy plays, the other guy plays pretty well. So when you have a player of that caliber, he can make, and that's what great players do. They make other players better. So we'll see how that works out.
For any of you, because some of you may have seen more of Demko than others, but you brought in some additional goaltending depth, and we know this guy's an elite goaltender, but he hasn't necessarily shown yet that he can get through a full season with a ridiculous workload. What do you guys see as the optimal number of games for Thatcher Demko?
Do you want to hear the coach?
Yeah, that's true. Well, there's a lot that depends on that. I mean, obviously, we know he's an elite goalie, and we know we're not running him every night. So we'll find that sweet spot. There's a lot of factors too. My goal as a coach, hopefully he can play half the net. He doesn't have to play post to post every night where he gets bombarded, with 18 grade A chances. If that's the case, then, he might only play 20. You can't have goalies like that caliber under that barrage. And so you have to, when you make decisions on goalies, you look at workload, recovery. We're going to be very on top of that. We're going to we actually have a third goalie that will be our practice, which is a huge thing that Jim brought in here, and Patrick. I love that, being able to have the third goalie on the ice. So it gives Thatcher less, more recovery time. That will help. But, I don't know the exact number, but obviously he's going to play a lion's share for us. And hopefully, we don't give him too much of a workload every night.
Jim, Patrick, you guys you've made a lot of moves. It's been a tough situation that you've had to deal with the flat cap, but you have made some considerable moves. You feel like you're aligned with your coaching staff. You feel like you're better prepared for this season than last season. Is it fair to call this season a referendum on the work you've done, or do you still feel like you're in the beginning of the process still to turn the team around?
I think we're partway through it. There's still work to be done. I mean, we haven't even qualified for the playoffs yet. And we're trying to clean up some things. So, every season you have to judge the management and the coaches, and, that's what we do in sports, okay? I think, to be very to the point, the changes that we made, we have a playoff team if everything goes right. Okay, your goalie has to be good, your specialty teams have to be good. You can't get into a lot of injuries. Okay, No, I'm not saying if one of those things go wrong, we can't still make it, because we have some impact players that can win games by themselves, okay? But we want to get to a point that we have enough in our lineup that you can have a few things go wrong on a regular basis and overcome that. But to be frank with you, that's my opinion. It may not be these guys' opinion, but that's how I feel about the team we have right now.
Do the other guys have an opinion?
I missed that. What was that?
Do the other guys have an opinion?
I'm sure they have.
Yeah, no, again.
I think Jim wants to hear it.
Again, we're going through the process, but again, from my standpoint, watching the coaching staff working together, having the same plan, the same message, I think that is so important for all the players in our organization. And we're going to continue to emphasize on, the environment. The players going to feel safe walking into the rink. They're going to know where they stand. And we're very pleased with our development staff supporting the players. We saw a lot of good things last year, so my hope is definitely that we're going to carry on the momentum from last year where we finished and be ready here for tomorrow.
Rick, in the offseason, obviously you brought in a lot of players that are filling some key holes in the lineup. You've also talked about there being young players who have an opportunity to make the lineup. Where do you see those kind of opportunities where there will be key battles in training camp? Where are those opportunities heading into training camp?
Yeah, that's, there's some spots there that they're up for grabs, right? I mean, I'm not going to specifically it's the fourth line, third line. I'm not going to get into that because you never know what shakes out. But adding the guys that we did, grit and character, right? These guys are gritty character guys coming in the room. That's already, I think, submerging in the leadership. It really helps. And for the young guys, I remember as a player, as a young guy myself coming to Philadelphia, you always go in, if there's an opportunity there, you want to see younger players take advantage of that, and to me, that's the staples we talk in our pillars. And that's why, a guy like Jeremy Colleton down there is so important. Our development guys, they're preaching the same thing we are. And they've talked to these guys probably more than I have, the younger guys that have a shot, and what the expectations are. But yeah, for me, I'm excited. Hopefully a couple of these young guys do make the lineup because it just adds enthusiasm. It really does. I know it's a long year. Sometimes practices drag and you need a little lift. Those young guys really lift those things. So that's why I'm excited. Hopefully some of these guys grab that spot. And there's some spots. There might be some spots higher up in the lineup where a couple of these young guys can, the way they skate or the way they forecheck, the way, they can release the puck. Those are the attributes that you want from those type of spots up there. So yeah, there's going to be some competition, and I'm just excited to see the competitiveness in the camp.
And Jim, when the trade went down yesterday, there were some fans who brought up an incident from Casey DeSmith's past where he was arrested. You were the GM in Pittsburgh when he came in. What was your due diligence then to look into that incident, and what can you say about it now?
Yeah, well, let me be clear. It was an unfortunate incident, and not something that anybody would feel good about it. But yes, I'm the one that gave him the chance in Pittsburgh, and we vetted this. We asked a lot of questions. We went through it, and there were charges laid, and he pleaded to a certain charge, lesser charge, but based on the information that we had, that there was a point where I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to get this wrong, and it's been a while, but despite the fact it was not a good incident, we had a comfort level at that point in time that everybody involved was okay with the penalty at that point.
Patrick, I think there was a good portion of the fan base that was hoping Elias Pettersson would arrive at camp with a contract extension in hand, and unless you have breaking news that you want to share, it looks like he's going to start camp and the season without a deal. Have there been any substantive talks with his camp about an extension?
Well, first, he's an RFA, so we have another 2 years. So that's where there is no rush versus if he was a UFA. And again, the relationship myself and Jim have with his camp, we talk. We talk about a lot of things, but at this point, we feel that we'll settle in here, and Elias really wanted to emphasize and focus on having a good summer. And he came in here 10 days ago, and I believe that he's in really good shape and excited where we are. The moves we made this summer, the direction the team and the organization is heading, and how we're going to play. So at some point, I'm definitely sure we pick it up here again. But as I said, I have a good relationship with Elias and his agent, and I feel good about the situation.
And just so everybody's clear, is there dialogue ongoing? Neither side has said we're going to push this until the end of the season?
Oh, we basically left it open here. Jim and I talked with Pat on our way back from Penticton on different things, and we will continue to talk here.
Rick, your club has obviously upgraded its PK personnel, but of course with a lot of new faces, I'm curious what the process looks like for acclimating everybody, getting everybody on the same page. Is it a relatively seamless plug-and-play type of process, or in your opinion, is there a lot of sort of learning and, whether it's systems, whether it's getting everybody on the same page about reads, that sort of thing?
Yeah, there's a big chunk of obviously systems. The guys that we acquired kind of reminds me when I was in Arizona. We had a couple of years where I think we were top 5. We had a really good PK there. We had some of the attributes there here. Teddy Beluga he reminds me of a Brad Richardson or a Darius Stepan, the way they PK. Ian Cole, I always remember the time we beat Nashville in the playoffs to win the Cup. We were 5-on-3 down, and it was a 0-0 game. They score maybe, I think we won that game 1-0, but if they score, different narrative maybe. And I know Kohler ate about 6 pucks. He blocked 6 pucks, and he played out there the 2 minutes. So he's he's not afraid to block a shot. And in PKs, you got to have those guys that will eat a puck. Susie with a long reach. I watched a lot of film, Adam Foote and Sergei, about his PK prowess with Seattle, and with that long reach, being able to kill a cycle. Obviously the guys that we had last year, Miller and Pettersson for sure together. There was a 2-week stretch. I don't know how many goals they got, right? Then there's Suter, who's a PK. We have a lot of bodies now that can penalty kill, and they have the attributes that I think you have to have a good PK with the system. But PK's attitude and there's bravery and there's excitement in the sense that when you kill it off, it gets the fans revved up. So we're going to try to supply that. It's a work, like I said, it's going to be a work in progress right from the beginning. We're going to really, just like all systems and whether it's D-zone coverages or PK is going to be right up there for us, and especially in camp. I think our third day we're going to be doing special teams. Usually coaches wait, but we're not going to wait. We want to get right into it. Even if some guys have never PK'd and they're out there, so what? There's some drills that we're going to do where you're going to have those attributes.
And looking ahead at the schedule, are you concerned that the PK is essentially going to be thrown right into the fire, playing Edmonton back-to-back, and then even 2 of the next 3 games are against Tampa and Florida, another couple of lethal power plays? Is it a little bit concerning that as you mentioned, it's going to be a work in progress, and you want to get everybody on the same page? Is it tough to, again, essentially have it thrown right up against the fire to start the season?
No, I'm not going to sleep for 2 weeks before the game. No, I'm kidding. Listen, you're going right away. We got Edmonton, their power play is outstanding. What better test is against that team? So we got, 3 weeks before the first game or whatever. We'll go through how to, how we're going to go against anybody, but it's not who you play, it's our philosophy and our attitude on the PK. And obviously, I'm excited, actually, the first game is Edmonton, where we'll see we are against the best, and it would be a hell of a boost if the PK can do a good job against them in 2 games. That would really give the confidence level. And if it doesn't, we're going to keep working at it. That's the way I look at it.
Patrick, between Abbotsford and Vancouver, I believe you have 7 goalies now under contract. Is there such a thing as too many goalies?
We'll see here at training camp how they perform. I do believe we're going to have 8 at camp here with Ty Young and his performance in Penticton here over the weekend. So again, competition and roster spots, it just makes the camp even better.
And then I know you touched on Tucker Pullman in email this morning, but obviously a tough situation, probably difficult to predict. But is there any hope of him having a role to play this season?
No, Tucker is not going to play. We supporting him and helping him in any ways to get his life back and feel good about himself. Obviously, when you're coming into a situation like this, over the last couple of years, haven't played much, hockey becomes secondary then. But Tucker feels the support and he got the necessary help and hopefully getting in a better place as we moving forward here.
And then just, Jim, you guys, I think, are just about the only team in the NHL that still takes your training camp on the road to start. Can you just talk to us about going to Victoria? Why do you guys still continue to do it? I mean, I know there's, building reasons this year in particular, but going on the road, what does that mean for you as an organization?
Well, it's a couple of things. The Canucks are very popular throughout the province, and we'd like to reach out to some of those smaller areas and give those people a better chance to see the players practice and see them around town and things like that. It's something we talk about every year, whether we're going to continue to do it. Certainly when we get to the point that we have more options. We could go to our place in Abbotsford too. It's a great facility. Our facility will be 100% done for next year in Rogers, so that's another option. But reaching out to some of those smaller areas where we have a lot of fans is important to us.
Patrick, just wanted to ask about the goaltending and specifically, I guess, down in the AHL. Are you guys comfortable running with 3 goaltenders throughout the season, or with the ECHL connection now, is there going to be a lot of movement for that with the depth there in goaltending?
Yeah, I think it's important for young players to play a lot of games, so definitely not an ideal situation to have 3 goalies, so that definitely will be some movements. And that's why part of it was why we agreed on having affiliation Kalamazoo there.
And just wanted to, this question, I guess for anybody, Andrei Kuzmenko looks like he's in great shape in camp. I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on off-season in Bali for his workouts.
Who wants that?
That's a question for the coach.
Well, I'll let somebody else answer it, but my son followed him every day. So he made me aware of what he was doing, and he thought it was great. I don't know if what the coach thinks, but.
Well, it's a little unusual, a couple months in Bali, but he brought a team with him. I think did he bring a chef? He brought everybody over there. So, got to give him a lot of credit. I'm sure I know he makes a lot of money, but the cost of bringing those guys over, I think he had a skating coach, a strength coach, and all that stuff. I know for sure he's lost weight. He's changed his diet. He knows that what it's going to take, to get to stay to the level. He obviously 39 goals. I mean, that's terrific. But to play the way we want to play, to play, Canucks hockey, he knows that he had to change his diet, and that was one thing that we talked about. And he did. And so I give him a ton of credit. We had a skating test, and I got glimpses of some of them, and I think he did a really good job on our skating test. So he's made his strides to do the right things, and that's what I like. So, if he scores 60, I think we're all going to Bali.
On the lefty-righty defense thing, it's actually a kind of a two-part question for Patrick and Rick. Do you factor in positional versatility with handedness on that as far as your evaluations? And do you covet positional versatility? And then for Rick, what primary attributes do you look for a player to make that switch?
Well, when we are going through the process, obviously our scouting staff and analytics weighed in on players. Some of them have played their offside. I think Carson Soucy and Ian Cole actually was a pair in Minnesota there. I think that's something that the coaching staff, in the end of the day, gonna put together the lineup decision there. But definitely helps with guys playing their offside and capable of playing two positions. Another guy is Brisebois. He's capable of playing both positions as well.
Yeah, I think it's hard to find righty-lefties. It's, sometimes almost impossible to get that. I'm a righty-lefty guy, but that doesn't mean you can't have two lefties playing together. Like Patrick said, there are guys that can play their left side. It's almost impossible to do that all the time, but, we've got some new righties that come in. Obviously, Mick Ward, I think, did a terrific job last year and had a great camp with the rookies. He's a righty. Philip Hronek, obviously. We got some good righties here. And there's some guys that can play their offside. But that's why it's important, like I said, our staff can help guys that if they have to play their offside, how to do it. How to, like I said, I don't want to bore you guys, but accepting a pass in the neutral zone, taking the puck off the wall in the offense, it's hard to do. And some guys can't do it. Some guys can. So that's why, we have to give some guys a chance. And it's situational hockey too. Sometimes there might be, for whatever reason, two righties with 2 minutes left because we want a matchup. So it's a committee thing too, and we have all those factors in.
For you, Rick, on the power play, there's been a reliance on the power play to provide for team success as well. You've mentioned you want to be involved in it. How will you be involved, and will the structure of it change at all from what we've seen here in years past?
Well, it's on me, first of all. The power play is going to be on me. But I also have some guys that are some pretty smart guys. You're going into a power play meeting, a coach's power meeting, you got the guys that I have, the twins, obviously, Sergei. I mean, Footy and Yosi are PK guys, but they put their PK on how do you break, how does power play break theirs? I mean, I ran the power play in Pittsburgh with Mike Sullivan, and, every once in a while, Mayor Lemieux would come down and I'd give him the eraser. Help me out, buddy. So I'm a believer in that, autonomy with everybody will have a say, but obviously it falls on me. As of the power play, when you beat pressure on a power play, you got to take it to the net. That's one thing I think we have to improve on. But I watched a lot of video of this team last year, not even so much when I was here. These guys can make plays. Like, I know Edmonton's is the barometer how great they are, but we got some guys that can make some unreal plays. Now we have to go, I think, to get the next step further is attacking the net more, a little bit more net front presence, teaching that bumper a little bit more. I think if we can add some levels to there, I can think we can have a great power play, which they've had a great power play in the past. So that's just my philosophy on the power play.
For Jim and Rick, what are your thoughts on the Mike Babcock situation?
I'll take it for both of us because he's probably going to have the same answer. We don't have enough information to really make a comment on something happened with another team. It's obviously unfortunate, but I don't think I can say any more than that without having more information.
For either Jim or Rick, the construction at Rogers Arena, will that mean that after training camp, once you get back from Victoria, you'll have to be off-site for additional practices in the lead-up to the season?
Yeah, we've went through the schedule. We kind of know what's presented in front of us, so we've already made plans for that. So, yeah, we'll be at UBC a lot. We've made it, I know that when the guys came, the guys were positive about how great the food was there and the facility where we got what we need. But yeah, we've planned it out, when we're going to be at Rogers or not. It's been the schedule's already had.
Yeah, and it's not just the construction, Thomas, it's the building's very busy. And, if you look at big markets, for the most part, the hockey team's not in it, Madison Square Gardens, and I can go through a lot of teams, especially in the U.S., so it's just the part of doing business in a market where the building's used more for hockey. It's used for a lot of other people that enjoy going to events there.